Good morning, afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is combo number 2, talking about Zootopia. I'm Tom Flores,
I'm Travis.
and today we're going to get into the new Disney movie that was announced last July. And at first, with the teaser trailer, it kind of was interesting. It made it seem like the Fox's character's name is Nick Wilde, played by Jason Bateman. He was going to be the lead, right? Didn't that teaser
Yeah,
trailer kind of,
I remember the trailers. He was very front and center,
yeah?
and I thought he was going to be the main
But then, as
character.
we see in the next trailer, and then after that, it's about the bunny Judy Hopps, played by Jennifer Goodwin. So that
hmm
I thought that was because this movie really does not kind of lie. It doesn't give you what the real story is about, which is
The,
interesting.
the advertising's been very good in that they just showed this is a city with animals, and so
Humans don't exist; they never
it
happen.
looks like the typical animated movie to show your children. But once we saw the
Yeah,
movie,
once
we knew
once mhm.
it was a lot more than that.
What I think what really makes this movie really phenomenal, and I personally think one of the not just the best animated film, but one of the best movies ever made, is because everyone can watch it. I mean, for the mental capacity for people to kids understand, I'd say it would be 4 or 5 would be the youngest for a kid to go see it, just so they can really understand
hmm
and comprehend, and like their parents can explain to them, and then to like 100 whatever. This movie really hit home because it not only talks about, like, no matter who you are, kind of feel wherever whatever walk of life you come from, what size you are, your race, color, or creed, you can do whatever you want as long as you just try, because no matter what you want to do, it's just going to require work, doesn't matter, but you can do anything type of feel. But it hits harder with that. It talks about like affirmative action, but it's called the Mammal Inclusion Initiative. It talks about political scare tactics. They talk about how politics go about getting certain votes, imagery, and it also really was great. I mean, it not only hit on racism, but
Yeah.
it really was more of how we're all bigots in some degree, good people and bad people, in our some way, in the smallest degree to the most extreme, are racist but are bigots.
Yeah. Yeah. I was beginning to wonder if any listeners were scratching their head when you said affirmative action. They're like,
Yeah, I
what?
know. For a kids movie to talk about this, it was interesting, and it showed the positives of that, of having that type of would it be a law or policy, like having that
I
type
think it would be a policy.
policy, but also it shows the pros and cons, because like it looks good on paper, but it can also screw both sides over in the long run.
hmm
Like, it was interesting. Okay, so for in this movie, so in the movie, it's on the bunny, Judy Hopps. She's the lead, and she comes from the country farm, from
hmm
a farm family. But as a kid, she's very idealistic. She actually is up for, I want to say, 75% of the movie. She is, until like the real world really hits her, and how it's just tough. It's
Yeah.
not nice. It's gritty, but she wants to be a cop, and in their society, in their world, no cop, no bunny has ever been a cop. That's just something that doesn't happen,
hmm
because
Yeah.
bunnies are small, adorable, cute, and it's like, what can they do? But she tries hard, and at the beginning, what was interesting is like it opens up, kind of quickly explaining how things were back then, to help the audience set the stage of like, how did anthropomorphic animals come to be? How did Zootopia start? Oh, back then we're all animals, but
Yeah.
just we
All
evolved.
done in like a elementary school
And
play.
that was funny because the kid who was doing all the music stuff, he even knew, he's like, this is, I'm just doing my job, I don't care, right? He kind of
yeah.
just like, I don't care, right? I'm just doing my job to the T. I'm having a blast. I'm not on stage. And what was interesting is the tiger cub, the boy,
Uh,
he was so scared. I thought that was great. He was just like, I'm crap. I'm here. And
I didn't memorize my lines like I was supposed to.
yeah, it kind of hit like what all elementary school plays are. The one kid who's just gung ho leads it, and the one kid is just like,
My mom put me up to this.
literally. I thought that was funny, and then like, um, and what was interesting about it shows her, and so when we go 15 years later, we do a 15-year jump at the police academy, and she's having a hard time, but because of her determination in her heart, she passes, she makes it. It's all good. And what was interesting when she comes to the new chief of when she gets to she's sent to District 1, which is Zootopia's heart of Zootopia. She talks to the chief, and that chief is played by Aris Elba. He's a big water
Yeah.
buffalo, which makes sense. The voice matches. But what's interesting is when she's talking like, hey, can I be a part of the missing mammal case? There's 14 mammals missing. Can I be a part of it?
Yeah.
No, you're doing parking duty. I got real cops on this. Like, I'm a cop too. I'm not just some token bunny.
Yeah, they said the T word in this movie.
And that hit again with the
What?
whole racist and bigotry and views. And he was saying like, look, I needed big animals. I needed the hippo. I needed a rhino. I needed a polar bear. They gave me a bunny because of this new mammal inclusion initiative. Like,
That
you
the
kind
mayor-
of like, yeah.
That the mayor wasn't it that the mayor just like did that
It
because
was for votes.
of
Votes.
just the votes.
Yeah, it was
thing.
just to keep the votes for the next term. But it was interesting because to hit on that, it showed like how in like our society, like it helps people who don't get opportunities, but then it screws over people who had the same qualifications, just as qualified, just
Yeah.
and everything, and then they miss out on a great job, and then it could hurt that job place because it doesn't matter who you are, we just needed that person for the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
damn it, we lost it because now the mayor makes us fill a quota. It's like we don't care. We just needed that person. You screwed us over. Like he because of how big this case was, he needed like rhinos, he needed polar bears, he needed big mammals because it was a big thing. They had to track down missing predators. Not that the predators were harmful. Like they didn't know that yet. The predators were going savage. They just needed to find these animals.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting to show the pros and cons of how certain things, when put into place to give people opportunities, because people should have the same opportunities, but when it's like forced upon at work, it could hurt and then screw people over on both sides of that coin.
Yeah. And then so while she's on parking duty, she
I like the meter maid part. I like that.
Yeah. She's like determined to be the best meter maid ever. In hopes she could get bumped up and be taken seriously. But she runs into the fox that we all thought was actually going to be the main character of this movie.
Yeah, because
Nick Wilde, voiced by Jason Bateman, and she first notices him, and this one's more subtle, but this is when we were saying, racial profiling, because, and of course, it's more personal for her because she had a bad experience with a fox. There was a fox that was a bully. I think we'll talk about that later.
We'll get back to that, but it hits on how our experiences will limit our basically our view on the world. Our experiences do, and our parents too, because our parents are like, foxes are bad. Here's fox repellent. Before you go to the big city, we got all this anti-fox stuff. It shows how not only your personal experiences, but the home life you grow up in will limit and warp your view on the world.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though with that, because she was profiling the fox. It helped her in the end because she realized the fox, was a con artist.
Yeah, it's like she was kind of right, but
it shows, this movie shows how it's good and bad. Because if you think about it, like if you're a cop on duty and you see a shitty looking person, what are the chances that they have something on them or they're about to commit a crime? It can show how having that profiling viewpoint can be beneficial, but can also be bad for the world as general. So it really showed how much of a mess life really is, and just how it's good and bad. It just depends on the exact that one moment situation, not a situation in general, just like that specific in time point, like hers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then so anyway, I guess long story short, they become familiar with one another. He's way more cynical than she is. Like, she's optimistic. Like, things are gonna be great for me. I may be down, but I'll eventually go up. And he just says, "No, you are what you are. This is your place. I know my place. I'm a shady person. That's what I own up to because that's what I was always told I would be." And so I think get real here.
And I think it was a show because when we see both their childhood experiences that made them who they are, hers was just a physical one. His was really mental. They didn't really. They just pushed him. Like, okay, so actually, we're gonna go back to the bullying of the fox.
You want to talk about that scene? Okay.
For Judy, her real solidifying moment of who she was as a character was she after the play's over, she's dressed up as a little cop. She's in her outfit, still bouncing around, being happy, and she notices the fox who bullied her and his friend, it was a weasel,
Mm-hmm.
bullying a couple of other mammals. I think it was a sheep, another bunny, and I want to say a goat, maybe.
And of course, the way this is animated is that the fox is bigger.
Because he's a bully. The bullies are
Yeah.
always bigger when you're kids, and he wants their tickets, and so he's bullying. He's like about to rough him up, and she stops. She tells him like back off, stop, and they're about to get into a fight. He pushes her down because of her size, and what he does is he scratches her, and it was a really gnarly, good scar.
Yeah, there's like 3 scars on her cheeks,
and it was a good one, but she won in the end because she was able to steal the tickets from while he scratched her. But for Nick Wilde's, I think that was a more of a sadder moment because it was more emotional, and it is true. I feel like physical never really lasts that long, and bones mend, scars heal. Scars don't heal, but scars wounds heal, bones mend. But psychologically, once something happens to you psychologically, you're never the same. And for him, it was really sad because he always wanted to be. It was basically their version of the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
But what was it really? It was basically kind of like
something Rangers.
And he was the first predator.
He was supposed to be in that troop.
And it was just the troop or the whole... It was just that troop.
I think I'm going to say it's that troop. I don't know about other troops in this world of that Zootopia exists in, but definitely of that troop, and it's mostly made up of prey, and he comes in...
Herbivores. It's all herbivores.
Yeah.
And he would be the first predator in that troop, and he was super excited. And it was kind of, too, really interesting what they hit on, is when he's talking about it, he does quickly say how he comes from a poor background.
Yeah.
So, and his mom basically spent probably like more than what they could bear without just for a new outfit. Like she probably wasted a month's salary, because they're that poor. He was excited, and when he got there, he was taking he was about to take it and everything. They're all like, "Okay, you ready to go, Nick?" and everything. And then it gets dark really quick, where he takes the oath, and then the hippo. I think the hippo was the lead of the troop. I think that was a little hippo, right? Who was the leader?
Is that a hippo or is that something else?
I think it was there was a lot. I think that was a hippo.
Okay.
And he was like, even if you're a fox, and like what, they push him down, and then they muzzle him, and they basically say you can never be helpful to society. You're a fox. We'll never let a predator be with us. And it was cool because it was a sad moment. And that's why it hit harder for him, because it was more of a psychological thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it showed how the people who you never see as bullies can also be very mean people.
Yeah.
Because once we honest, everyone can bully anyone. It doesn't need to be the big jock or the big kid on the block or the one with like a poor background. It can be the kid who comes from the nicest, richest family in the world. It can be the kid who's got it all. It can be the smallest kid. And it really, I think that was really hitting on what this movie's really saying, is that because it says anyone can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally anyone can be anything, good and bad, good or bad. Anyone can be anyone at any point in time, because you really got to just kind of be on your toes about that.
I think it's an interesting thing you pointed out, that she got the physical kind of bullying, which, and it's nice that you said it doesn't last long, because I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, after she got scratched, that was intense. First of all, that was a pretty intense scene. I was not expecting...
a boy doing that to a girl. I mean, I know they were animals, but it was still a boy doing it to a girl. That's what made it more intense.
Like, for a Disney animated film, let alone an American studio animated film, which is always targeted towards children, that was a pretty brutal scene, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, just scratch, and you see, 3 claw marks on her face.
They were pretty deep.
They looked pretty deep. They stuck out, and I was constantly looking at those throughout the movie.
For the continuity of this movie, that's one thing. Me as a person in the audience, and Travis too, we wanted to see that more, because it's like that.
She didn't grow up with those scars. Either that or fur grew over them, and
but it was something that needed to be.
They didn't go back to it. There wasn't a moment saying, "Oh, I had a bad experience when I was a kid. Someone didn't believe me and gave me these." It's like, she lists the fur.
And that could have been
there's not a scene like that.
Because that could have been a great bonding moment for him and Nick. Mm-hmm. For her and Nick, because she got bullied by a fox.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a perfect moment, but it was like, opportunity missed, I feel.
Yeah, and it was nice that you mentioned the mental versus physical, because I was thinking in the movie, when they showed Nick's flashback, what I was partially expecting, he's just gonna get jumped. Like,
Yeah, I thought they were gonna beat him up.
like
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna kick him, they're gonna punch him, and he's gonna wake up black and blue near a street gutter. I mean, I thought it was going down that direction because at that point, that's the expectation I had in my
Yeah.
mind. But it was just they stuck the muzzle on him, they laughed, and then he runs out of the
And then
building.
just let him go.
And
Yeah.
and he's like, "Are you gonna cry? What a loser! Dude, let's walk away." And I was thinking, okay, that seemed that was tamer in comparison, but you brought up a really good argument that might have been just done on purpose.
Because they did a lot of I think so. I think they did that on purpose too. Because now you said on purpose because they're really trying to show both sides of the coin here. Because there's always two sides to coin, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
They're really trying. They gave us a physical bullying. They gave us a mental emotional bullying,
Mm-hmm.
and the mental one really always hits home because that's what I mean. Because when on the mental part, the guy who was for Judy's bully, because he physically bullied her, he grows up. He's still a big dude,
Mm-hmm.
but he now has a stutter problem, and he even he says that like I had problems at home and stuff like that, and I'm really sorry. And for the little bunny looking up, she was talking very confidently, very energetically, and he's all bashful and like. When he was so loudmouthed and he was so boisterous as a kid, it shows the mental stuff really hits home harder, especially
Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
One thing I was surprised at this movie, racism or just bigotry in general, but the big one definitely racism. Anyway, I was surprised how complex they went with this. Because I've seen movies that want to make race a subject, and even not even animated movies, but movies meant for grown-ups, aka Oscar bait, even Oscar bait, that in which the main message is racism is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's how I felt about the movie 12 Years a Slave. I thought the whole moral of that movie was just, okay, slavery is bad. I get it. Is there anything else? Why I could have just read the book.
But do you feel Zootopia went deeper than that?
Zootopia went much deeper because
when it went past the surface.
When it started out, it was it struck to me like bigger animal versus small animal. Okay, that's where they're going with this.
No matter prey or predator. Right?
The prey and predator thing didn't come until later in the movie, or didn't register with me until later in the movie.
Big and small animals.
Big and small. I thought that was it, and then it was also prey and predator. City folk, country folk, and because I was starting out and I was already thinking real world comparison. I'm thinking, okay, I was thinking, okay, who are the black people in this, and who are the white people in this? Is there a KKK element, and then is there going to be a Martin Luther King character? But then once I saw there was more, I stopped thinking in, no pun intended, black and white terms, and I started thinking, oh, they're covering the whole thing.
Okay.
And especially when they said the Mammal Inclusion Act, I was thinking, oh, affirmative action. She said the word token. You pointed out how
the lion, when we find out he only has a sheep secretary because to get certain votes. So political tactic, but then. When they talk about scare tactics, because everyone starts getting scared of when they find out like what's going, like these predators are going savage again.
Mm-hmm.
It was scare tactics, kind of like how not only just with the 9/11 scare tactics that were used, but in general through history, people using scare tactics.
Well, of course, I was thinking of Donald Trump's whole ban Muslims thing that he's doing right now, and
like
I'm thinking,
but the scare tactics.
Should we quarantine them? Should we get them out of the city? All of that, and I was thinking, oh my gosh. Where have I heard this before?
But not only with the current candidates running right now for president, but back then, all leaders.
Japanese internment.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think it showed. That's why you're saying it went deeper. It made you you were saying at the beginning. It made you think like, oh, what we know typically like just the black and white, not just by race, but just a black and white racial thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper than that.
You pointed out that one time when Nick said to her, like, you're very articulate.
Yeah, no, I read an article.
Was it Nick that said it to her?
No, Judy said it to Nick.
Oh, she said it to him. Okay.
And I'm trying to remember the article, but an article said that they did that little, like, it was like, they said like a little joke thing, like a quick line for it's more for the adults.
Mm-hmm.
But it was someone said it was basically the same thing, that it was either John McClane or Joe.
John McCain.
No, sorry, John
McClane's
McCain.
from Die
Yeah,
Hard.
John McCain or Joe Biden said to Obama, and that when the bunny said that to the fox, I'm like, wow, you're a very, in a condescending way. She says, wow, you're very articulate, but it was in a condescending way. That's what goes with Travis was saying, how deeper was. It shows that the ones you think are always the bully aren't the bully. The one everyone can be good and bad. It's almost like, if you think about it, how when we're surprised to hear when we hear like someone who is a pedophile or child molester, how it's like, whoa, when you never think that.
Yeah.
It shows you like, yeah, the people who are really the most evil are the ones who blend in, are the ones who look like you and me and your parents, everyday society people. They don't have a cape. They don't have a mask. The heroes don't have capes. The bad guys don't wear a mask. They're people who are like just walking around the street every day, normal people. And that's what goes with what Travis and I are saying, like how this movie is so great. You said it last night, it's the right kids movie.
Yeah, because you were the one saying, I can't believe they did that for a kids movie, and I was saying it's the right kind of kids movie. It's the one you should show to your kids for the sake of their own development.
Yeah, and this is the one that parents, anyone who's a parent listening to this, or is an older sibling, an aunt, uncle, anyone who just knows a younger kid, they need to go tell people who have kids and go see this with kids they know. Because it really is something to open their eyes. I mean, first of all, the animation's great. The animation's great. The comedy is super funny.
Yep.
Because some of the stuff they joke about, even Disney jokes about their own movies. As you saw, it was a quick little bit.
Yeah, they did.
The Godfather reference was honestly something that was perfectly to the T. I really enjoyed that one.
If you've seen The Godfather, you'll enjoy that scene. Personally, I thought they did that a little too much. I feel like the movie kind of stopped to turn into a Godfather reference.
Okay. It derailed. It went off track a little.
It went off track just for that one scene, which was very on the nose Godfather. Yeah. But that being said, if you like The Godfather, you'll probably enjoy that scene. But for me, I was thinking, okay, we're getting a little off track here. This is like DreamWorks type referencing here.
Maybe that's why Disney did it, to really step out of their Disney image of how we see Disney movies. Maybe that's why they went, because if you think about it, the DreamWorks animated movies are a little more bolder than most Disney movies. Like Shrek to some, you know what I mean?
See, that's why I like Disney, though, in that I like that they don't have to rely too much on, or if they do a pop culture reference in many of their movies, it's very subtle.
It's the one-liner.
It's not. It wasn't like the Godfather scene was very obvious.
Well, they came
this
back
is
to it
Godfather.
Twice. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like in Toy Story where the ground or the floor is the same floor pattern as the Stanley Hotel and The Shining. It's nothing like that. But I like that. It's I like when Disney does a pop culture reference, which they almost never do, especially in their Pixar films. Very subtle. Very subtle, maybe, not on the nose.
Maybe that's why for this one they did it, because since this movie in general was such a different type of kids movie, because it went bolder, it had balls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why they might have went deeper with that reference, just to really show the audience yeah, we're a Disney movie, we're all about kids and family, but we want to step away from our image, kind of because the whole thing is about stereotyping and imagery. Maybe that's why within the writing. Because this was such a deeply written, complex script.
Yeah.
And the way it was animated, that could have been the other. I mean, who knows really? Only the guys who made it know that.
Yeah.
But that could have been one element, like you're saying. Because I was thinking maybe they're trying to do a little bit of a DreamWorks feel, but to really step out of the comfort zone because of how much of the comfort zone they already stepped out of. I mean, they had a girl. I mean, I know Milan, she got cut up a little bit in the fight, but in this one, this girl really got scratched up. But it was a little girl, not a full-grown woman.
Yeah.
And then the bullying scene was really that was sad and really dark, and those kids really messed them up emotionally. And then how with all the references they're making to our world today as a society. and also too the way Shakira's character uh, Giselle was drawn, basically very hippie. I mean, I feel
Kind of
like
like Shakira.
it really hit on how they really were stepping out of their comfort zone with this particular movie, because their next movie coming out is Finding Dory. That's straight up,
Yeah, from Pixar.
but this one is really, it just went so deep on what racism and bigotry really is, and it's just like we all are like this, and the only way to get to that peace, kumbaya, and love that we all dream of, we all tell our kids in school. The only way to do this is to get rid of racism and bigotry as a whole altogether, no matter every degree. But that's almost near impossible. And I think the chief of police was the voice of reason, or I want to say almost like their sage, because he was the one who said, like, realistically, that's not possible. We can hope for that. Even I'm a cop and I want that. But life is such a big ass mess. We ain't never going to get near that. So we just got to do our best and hope it all makes it, what we do makes some sort of impact, because no matter what, I think what the chief said is basically what he was saying the whole throughout is you can't kill it. No matter how hard we've been trying in history, we can make advancements and improvements like we have,
We
and
can
especially
keep fighting it.
But this movie really I think this movie really hit that you can't kill racism and bigotry. You just can't. It's too powerful almost, because it's been taught. It's taught. You know, you're not just grown it. You're taught it, and so once your parents teach you it, that's it.
It's almost like The theme of racism in this movie was, I think it was interesting that they almost a challenge that they went to, not just for the theme alone, but also the fact that they were using animals to get that theme across. Because the thing about racism amongst human beings is that the whole idea is a person is racist to another person because they think that person has different characteristics from you. Maybe even go so far as to think, oh, well, those characteristics that don't exist make them inferior to me. But in this movie, with animals, there are different characteristics to each of those animals. There's big ones, there's small ones.
There's horns, there's claws, there's weight, there's eyes, ears.
Yeah, their fur colors, fur patterns. Like, they all look very different to one another.
Yeah, I think using animals in an anthropomorphic setting helps see that, because there are more species of animals than there are races of humans. You know, there's so many species. So I think seeing so many species like that probably help get the message more across too, like get better across. And also too, what was another thing about Zootopia was interesting is how they built the city. And I really liked how, it's so quick. It's during the tram sequence of Judy entering the city the first time. But the city is so well constructed on such a technological level that when you rewatch it, you really go in awe about it, because it's the city itself is divided up into, I think it was about like 5+ districts, right?
Yeah,
and they quickly named off. They named off the big ones more, but they named off at the beginning quickly, just like a lot of different districts. There's
the snow one.
There's tundra, Sahara, rainforest, and like there was a couple others, but then there was like the main city district.
Yeah. I would love for Disney and Rockstar Games to get together and make like GTA Zootopia.
That'd be
Grand Theft Auto Zootopia rated E10. I would play that, because this is a really cool city, and I would have loved to explore it more.
Because it's so interesting, because each district is divided into walls. It is.
Yeah.
But it's not because it's like, separating people off. They don't do it that way. They set it off in walls is because the walls actually help keep the climate of the district intact. So they live in a controlled climate city, except the city district of Zootopia. You can tell that's the one that's not really, the weather isn't controlled, but the other districts, the walls control the weather. Like when she's passing through the Sahara district into the Tundra district, the Sahara walls are big ass heaters, just generating heat to make that climate, that hot, dry climate. When the tram passes through on the other side, the walls for the Tundra district are shooting off snow and AC to keep it cold. And in the rainforest district, because to keep that constant rain going, it's sprinklers in the trees and near people's homes that are the constant rain, and so it's that to keep. So it's I think it's interesting to show that their society they live in cities that have climate control. And I think that's interesting because I feel like that's possible for us in today's time. That doesn't seem that far fetched to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost money and electricity and man hours, but we could have cities that are climate controlled year round.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting technological aspect of that city that was really cool. I mean, yeah, they did show other stuff like how do gerbils and lemmings live with big ass animals, and it shows like oh they have still the hamster shoots and like other stuff to make it easier for everyone to live. Like,
Yeah,
just to
a
coincide.
a lot of attention to detail in that regard.
Oh yeah, especially with the names of certain companies like the Lemmings Brothers for that lawyer company.
Lemmings Brothers.
That was good. They had what was that one in the Tundra Disc? Was it they made fun of Uber, right?
Was it? It wasn't.
It was in the Tundra.
Zuber.
Uber? Yeah, but they made fun of Uber basically.
They made fun of Uber.
Also too they made fun of the cell phone company. Who was it?
Instead of AT&T, it was PB&J.
Yeah, but I don't know what that stood for. But it was basically they're having.
All
fun.
I can think of is peanut butter and jelly.
True, but they were having fun with a lot of big brand names or just big, like just. I guess it wouldn't be also big brand names, but it would be certain job names, like Lemmings Brothers for a lawyer company. It could have been like something else, And
I think Lehman Brothers was a bank, wasn't it?
So it was a bank. So that
Lehman Brothers, Lemming Brothers.
So that's what they were doing. Okay, so they're making fun of a bank. So having fun with a bank, but what was another thing to really resemble our society is how every single person in the background and our main characters were using their phones a lot.
Yeah. Phones were important in this scene. This is one of the few movies. It didn't feel, well, I don't know. Maybe if I watch it again, maybe it might feel dated. I don't know. But it was interesting how technology was used as part of the plot in that, in one instance, they're recording video for evidence or... she uses essentially FaceTime because her phone is pretty much an iPhone, except instead of the Apple logo, it has a carrot logo. So she's like FaceTiming her parents, which is very very contemporary writing, and honestly, nowadays we can do that. Therefore, why wouldn't you want to see your parents' faces, especially her parents? Her parents were. You're going to be a cop. Oh my gosh, I hope you don't get hurt or anything. So they're probably subtly it made more sense for them to use FaceTime because they wanted to see their baby's face.
Well, and this is their only. I mean, they have a big family, which is fun. They make fun of the rabbit. She has like 129 brothers and sisters, but she's the only one in the family who heads out to the big city, who leaves home.
Everyone else.
So that's why it showed that whole the parents having that emptiness feeling in a sense of one of their babies leaving, and the kid also too. She's like, even though I'm like, yeah, I'm in my own life, because when she got into the hotel, she's like, wow, greasy walls, kind of dusty bed, noisy neighbors. Yeah, so it showed how she had her freedom in a claustrophobic setting. She had a lot of freedom.
This crummy apartment, and she's happy.
But it showed like with the technology how we're always on it. And that's what takes away from us as a society. It's limiting us because we're not enjoying the world around us. We're enjoying the virtual world. We're not enjoying the real world. I mean, yeah, some of these pictures come from the real world, which is like, okay, yeah, look at the pictures of the Appalachian Mountains. Oh, my best friend's in the rainforest. That's so cool. Oh, someone just got here. Blah, blah, blah. But it's like, look around, though. Like, there's an elephant right next to you who's talking with a giraffe. I mean, I know that's normal to them, but it's still something to watch and see. Like when I'm looking at people and I'm like, that's so cool. This guy is like 6'7" and his girlfriend is 5'5". That's just, it's not like you're making fun of it, but it's just an interesting thing to watch them interact. How do they hug each other? How do they hold hands? How do they do, like that kind of thing. And everyone on their even she did use her cell phone as a tool for like recording, flashlight, which showed the advantages that our cell phones give us now, our smartphones, but it also showed the disadvantage because when she enters the city, yeah, she's listening to not only the song of the movie, but
Yeah.
she's just listening to music to get pumped up for like the new thing, which
Yeah,
we
that's
do.
right. She was
But
listening to music.
but she's blocked off from her first day already until she meets the landlord of her apartment. She's blocked off. She's closed off from the rest of the world in a sense because she has her headphones on and she's just listening to music, looking around at stuff, not taking them off and letting the sound of the city hit her hard. You know, like
Hmm.
let the sound, the voices. I mean, I know that in her country area there was a couple of elephants and ghosts, but there were no tigers we saw. There was no lemmings. There was no exotic animals in her country world. This was the city.
Wait, wasn't there a tiger, that little kid that was in her play?
No, I'm saying no. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. There wasn't, but panthers. There wasn't exotic
Okay.
animals. There was some, but it was the country lifestyle. It's her going out there. She gets to see the I mean they didn't show it because it's a kids movie, but maybe like the pimp on the corner, the guy going to the law firm.
Hmm.
They had country folks. So this it showed her as even though she was the main protagonist, the good guy. It showed her already she's letting technology block her off because she was just jacked in on her first day, not taking them off and being like, damn, like she could have talked to people on the train. She could have talked to someone while exiting the building of the train station. She could have really taken in 100% her new environment. But because she was plugged in, it showed how as our technology, our cell phones, we really just are so just isolating our own selves. There's so many bubbles within the bubbles.
And plus, she was still living in a fantasy land in which she didn't realize how
No, truth,
hard the truth of
life is.
it's just yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that too. I mean, that's her character, but it also showed the fact that we all of us just do that. We're on our phones a lot more.
Mhm.
I've seen people texting on dates. I've seen families, and they're a family. Yeah, they're out as a family eating. Everyone's on some sort of device. I think that's was really. I mean, even the posters of of Zootopia show people just. The animals are just on their phones doing selfies or whatever, playing
Yeah.
apps. I mean, even one of the characters, Clawsworth, the Clawhauser, the basically the receptionist for the police department, he's just always playing his apps.
Yeah.
And it kind of just shows how we're really letting our phones control us.
Kind of like the. It sounds like you're kind of talking about the movie Her.
Yeah,
Because remember in Her, they're always
that could be. I
on their
mean, and
ear.
that's more of an adult movie. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's
And
not.
that was more prevalent to the and that was part of the main movie's theme in Her. This
Mhm.
is just some more background. But now that we're talking about that, and okay, now that we're talking about that, what was I gonna say? Oh, so you know how the 14 mammals that are missing, and it doesn't seem like the police is doing anything about it because like that one wife comes in and says, "Please, you need to find my husband." And at one point, the chief says the line, "Oh, we're very busy."
We're doing the best we can.
But we're very busy.
That's probably hitting on that. How one officers do what they can, but sometimes they just can't. I mean, the
They
laws.
can't, or see.
I
I
would
thought I
say
thought they were gonna go on an angle of maybe there's some laziness in the police department, or maybe they don't care about these particular mammals
Maybe, but I mean, well, if you think
since
about
they're
it,
predators.
well, maybe because that one wife of the missing animal, she's an otter, and when he was describing when he was describing the police station, we have 14 missing animals, all predators, from a big polar bear to a tiny otter. He put the polar bear as this like bigger case than the otter because the otter's small. It's an
Hmm.
otter. I mean, if you think about it, is an otter really that much of a predator, a hunting animal than a polar
No.
bear? So maybe it kind of could show how it was putting because of how there's for this movie, everything had a two side of the coin feel for the police. It showed how to some, I mean, not all the police departments, I'm not saying all of them, but just some, maybe some cases to them aren't that important. I mean, and that's true. That's not untrue. It's not all police departments, but to them, some cases, I mean, it's like saying
Yeah.
what's more important, the murder case or the one like we got a case where someone got shot and where a kid's vandalizing multiple homes. We got to find out who the kid is. What's more important?
Hmm.
Who gives a damn about the kid vandalizing? We care about the murder case. Who cares about an otter? We need the polar. Like what's the bigger case? So like
Yeah.
hitting on what you're saying about the big animal, small animal, it was showing a lot of sides of the coin for a lot of things. The chief himself, he wasn't a bad guy. He was just one of the guys like we just got to do the job. That's it. Boom. He didn't like hate his job. It's
A
like
little jaded,
he's a
kind
little
of.
jaded, yeah. But then, like I said, he gave that speech of like, look, life's a mess. You just gotta. It's not what you who you are. It's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was showing how not all of us are just because we have one little bad attitude in one moment or one first meeting, we're not all like that. And it really hits full circle again what we've been saying for this movie. It really shows how anyone, big, small, doesn't matter, race, color, creed, species, whatever, anyone can be the bad guy. Anyone can be the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who you are. Because even like when they had that one Godfather reference, he's not a bad guy.
No.
He paid his. He just had different morals, but he just does a certain. He does an occupation that we look down on.
Yeah. Before we go, I just wanted to talk about this. Unfortunately, we're at this point in American cinema where we have to ask this question. What do you think the sequel is going to be about? Because this movie just had a big opening weekend, I read.
Well, you know what? You're right, because how well... I mean, this is the first weekend, and it's already doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep doing phenomenal because, one, the animation's phenomenal. The
Yeah.
animation is really... It's great. I love animated films because you see... Every animated film shows how much better that technology in cinema is getting better compared to just the last one. Like, Finding Dory looks a little better than this movie because it is coming out later, but Finding Dory is just a little sharper, you know what I mean? This movie is great, but every animated movie that comes out next, no matter the studio, no matter whoever produced it, the quality is just always a little better in some degree.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing that because in the trailers we already saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But since you brought that up, and that's true, because like our last movie we talked about Deadpool, the sequel's already being like, let's get a sequel.
Yep,
For this one,
greenlit.
I hope there isn't a sequel because of how phenomenal this movie did. I feel a sequel will kind of taint and ruin the whole meaning and purpose of this movie.
Okay.
But because we were
that's kind of what I thought about Daredevil or Deadpool. Excuse me.
Daredevil. But since it could happen, because it can happen.
It's probably gonna happen.
The only thing, because when we all saw this, Travis's girlfriend pointed out, it would be just the only thing because of how much this movie hit.
What do you do next?
No, she pointed out I can only see police brutality because they hit on so much.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that was really left out if you think about it. And then I added on. I mean, I don't think they will because it's not really family. Like, I mean, it'd be weird to kind of animate that. I feel
it's
it would be like how interracial couples.
Maybe not.
Interspecies couples.
Interspecies couples.
I think that might be hard for an animated film to do in a sense. I just feel like if it can, I mean, look what they did now. So anything can happen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like Murphy's Law. Anything can happen. Anything that can't happen will.
Yeah.
But I think police brutality would be phenomenal because our main character's a cop.
Yeah.
And that would be great because it could show again the small cop maybe accidentally roughed up someone who's bigger or smaller. The big cop. It doesn't matter your size.
Yeah.
So I think. If there's a sequel, my bet is on that. I agree with your girlfriend, Travis, that it's gonna be probably police brutality. Only because they did so much. They did so much on what our society is like today. That was the one thing that was left out. Really, I mean, what you brought up quickly about how some police departments don't really care about certain cases or whatever because there are more important, bigger things in their minds. It was too background. So the next movie would just full on take on the whole how everyone views the police in general, good and bad. And I think that would be it. What do you think it would be?
So police brutality could be a thing. Maybe someone got wrongfully arrested and they didn't go through the proper charges, but the police people didn't do much about it, and now like the public is the one demanding justice and all that. It could do interspecies couples, and maybe that's like a side. Maybe that's not like the main plot.
The background.
That's like a side plot. Yeah, the B plot.
Oh, actually, no, that would be the B plot. Yeah,
it would be a B plot in that it's just frowned upon and looked upon strangely. Maybe you're seeing it more and more, and other people are reacting negatively to that. That could be it. Yeah, I don't know what else.
Because they hit on something. They even hit on one thing because when Travis brought up her parents were freaked out by the job choices they chose, and that and not that I'm saying it hit home to me because my parents weren't like that, but that hit hard with me in a way because it showed how a lot of parents like, oh, we want you to do everything you can. You can do anything. Our parents support us, but to a certain degree, most
Mm-hmm.
parents will support it because, first of all, yeah, every parent wants their kid to leave the nest, make their own family, but every parent's kind of like, no, we love you so much. It's like it's not like a controlling thing. It's just we love you so much,
Yeah.
protecting. But it hit that her parents were like, yeah, you can do anything, but a cop's dangerous. Like, no bunny's been a cop. Like, don't be a cop. Don't be a cop. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard. All right, I'll just work harder. Like, because it hit on that family. That was, I think, that was not a B plot, but like a more of a really like background
like
little
a running theme kind of,
like a little in the background to show like how
yeah,
parents support you, but to a certain length
mm-hmm.
sometimes, and like how schools give you all this idealism, like yeah, because yeah, you're kids, you want to keep the innocence, but how when reality hits you, it just hits you hard, and that's life. Life just is merciless,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why for a kid movie, it works. It was so great. Like they give that like life's just life. It's gonna either hit you square in the jaw,
Mm-hmm.
or it's gonna graze you, but in some way, it's gonna hit you. And so I think, yeah, I would probably be if they do a sequel, it's more going to be a police brutality and interspecies.
It's going to be a much more if they want to make it good, it's going to be a much
It
more
has.
serious movie.
Hey, isn't it interesting how most of the sequels are always more serious?
If they do it right.
No, but
yeah.
I'm sorry. In general, I'm saying in movie history in general, don't the sequels seem to be more darker and serious? Like Godfather Part 2, Empire Strikes Back, even Attack of the Clones in the prequels.
I think Empire Strikes Back set that up to where
all sequels have to be darker.
The second movie has to be the darker one.
Just cause kind of thing.
I mean, I don't know. Would you argue that Toy Story 2 was kind of darker than the first one?
It wasn't as uplift. It wasn't as jolly.
It brought up. There's that scene where Prospector says, Andy's going to college, and he's probably not going to take you with him, which they followed through in the third movie.
I think even the second Narnia movie was darker. I know the book is darker than the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but the second movie I heard was darker, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was darker.
Yeah.
2010 was actually more not darker but more serious. So I feel like sequels and movies are going to be always serious, either serious or darker, both, one or the other. So this one will probably be more of a serious subject matter, which it is. I think police brutality in our species would be more of a serious subject for this world to tackle.
Yeah. If you have an idea for what the sequel should be, leave it in the comments because I'm stumped.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe Disney will see it and they can come up with a good movie.
And then before we wrap up, as we always do with all movies, it's the basic question: is this going to become a classic when we're all 60 and 70 and 80? And I'm going to say, yeah.
I think the theme is very timely, and I don't think we fully realize it yet.
It's timeless. Yeah. It's timing. It's perfect timing, but it's also timeless because this is
somehow this is still relevant today, sadly.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's the right movie to show your kids, and I hope to get it on Blu-ray and then just keep it around. And then when I have my kids, I'll show it to them.
And grandkids.
It's great that Disney Animation decided to show some balls for this. That American
big ass balls.
Yeah, that American animation studios, Hollywood animation studios, would want to do a movie about this kind of subject matter. I'm sure that like more independent films, like the ones that get nominated for the Oscars that don't win because the Pixar wins, and those are the ones we forget and don't care about. I'm sure they've covered heavier stuff. American studios have always played it safe, at least compared to this. Compared to this, they played it safe probably since the new millennium. Granted, the 90s animated films that Disney made, like Beauty and the Beast, Tarzan...
we were just talking about this. It was Tarzan, Beauty and the Beast, and...
What were the other...
Oh, we just talked about this. But what are you saying?
Yeah, well, those are definitely more serious films, I would say. Tonally, they're very serious films, whereas it's almost like a requirement that an animated film has to be a comedy. It has to have jokes and to have comedy writing. And while this movie fits that description, the subject matter came through well enough to...
There needs to be more kids' movies like this that really that obviously, yes, are family friendly, because that's the point of a family friendly movie, is to have the family be together. That's the
Hmm.
point. But the point, I think, the real thing that what most family movies are missing nowadays, and this one really goes back to it, is that at the end it leads to a conversation between the parent and child, like
Hmm.
most of them did back then, and like most cartoon shows did back then. Because nowadays it's missing that element. It's not
Yeah.
the element of like, here's the lesson of the day, here's the moral of the day. It's more of like, son, you know what's going on, or hey, dad or mom, what's this about? Like, it's point. The point is to have the parents talk with the kid. That's what the family movies were about, and this one comes back to that basicness of it. Is we want parents to have conversations with the kid, because the only way for a kid to truly grow up and develop into an adult is for the parent to talk, just to talk to your kid about anything and everything. And that's what this movie leads to, and that's what every parent I know is gonna want to do. That
Yeah.
is going to want to take their kid. Literally, all parents need to take their kids to the movie. Anyone with a kid just needs to take them to the movie and then talk about it, because it's how just basically how it mirrors, how this movie just mirrors us as a people. Because in deep down, we are still animals. To our primal instinct, we are still have that animal quality in
Yeah.
us that will never go away. And that's why, and since it mirrors our society, we need to talk about this movie with kids. Like, really, like, this could be taught. This could be shown for schools as like a learning tool.
Definitely.
This is a learning tool, and
We
that's this. I think this movie, instant classic.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie. Definitely go see it as soon as you can.
And
Whether or
it
not you
doesn't
have
really,
kids.
and it doesn't matter the format. We saw it in regular 2D. I bet it's IMAX 3D and Real 3D. It's even better looking because it's just a
Hmm.
sharper quality. But
Yeah.
you don't need to see it for that. It's just there's no elements of a 3D moment of like, oh, it's in your face. It's just whatever format you see it, just see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So far, my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't seen that movies from this year because I've mostly avoided the January movies. But
And since you quickly mentioned the Oscars, since the new Oscar rate, I mean, since now it's the Oscars have ended, and now it's a fresh year, and since it's so early in the year, I hope this movie doesn't get overlooked because of how powerful it is.
I hope this movie doesn't get the Lego Movie treatment like 2
I
years
I
ago.
hope it wins because of the. I mean, nothing against the other animated movies coming out. I bet they're going to be great, phenomenal.
Mhm.
Anything, any movie that's nominated really is most of the time amazing.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes to the win, this movie needs to win for the message, so that when it comes back, so when it comes to next year, February next year, this movie gets a nice new rejuvenation, and people talk about it again, because this is how important this film is.
Yep.
Any final words, Travis, before we leave?
Hashtag Predator Lives Matter. Yeah. That again. Go see it, please. Don't bring your kids as an excuse. If
Hell,
you're
just see it by yourself. I mean, hell, we
Yeah.
saw it, and we're like,
Yeah.
we're 20.
You, me,
20,
my
21,
girlfriend. Yeah.
And we're out of high school kids, and we saw it, and it still hit us hard.
Mhm.
It hit home. So yeah, that wraps it up for this week's episode, today's episode. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. Please leave the comments of what movie you want us to see next. Just comment and like. We're here because we love movies. That's all.
Yep.
That's why we're here. So once again, I'm Tom Flores,
I'm Travis.
and this is combo number 2. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.